been a moment since I've recorded a video, so I wanted to share a message with you. And first off, thank you for understanding what it is that we're a part of here. It's an extraordinary experience, and we're doing some things that have never been done before. I hope that these experiences that are coming to light aren't frightening you, or others for that matter. There's so much to take in and to understand, to grasp, that God does extraordinary things, some things that are beyond human comprehension. This experience is testimony to the great works that God does. I've read the Bible many times, and if you know the part where it speaks of Enoch taking walks with God, well, I've had encounters like that, and I've done some extraordinary things with him. He's blessed me in such a great way by letting me be part of creation now for a very long time. On one of our journeys, he made some changes that allowed for life to be different. We live in a different world now because of that. It hasn't been an easy task. I think perhaps the most challenging part that I find is encountering so many people that struggle with their faith and their belief, regardless of which religious denomination that they claim or whatever religious point of view that they have. So many people struggle with their walks. I realize now the gravity and the magnitude of what I'm doing with God, why I'm doing it. I haven't quite divulged all that information yet. There's still so much work for me to do. We're still doing writing books and delivering insight and perspective and helping people grasp what it is that's been done, but also doing that so that people can understand how to be doing it better. And I guarantee you the information that we're sharing, you could apply it towards your understanding of any religion that's out there, and it's going to increase your perspective on how to go about doing things. I've met so many people that have a faith, or a belief rather, in God, and confuse that belief with their faith. And I know so many people that are quick to claim a religion and then act nothing the way God asks them to be. They act religious. They have so much skepticism and doubt, and people trying to discredit the things that we're doing coming from a religious standpoint. Like, I encounter people trying to justify their actions with the word, and when all that they're doing is ungodly, unrighteous stuff, and looking for a way to continue on with that sort of religiousness and that sort of poor example. I think that not just from the Holy Bible perspective or Holy Bible point of view, but from other religious manuscripts that are out there that people cling to and practice so that they can have a spiritual understanding of how to live life. I see many people struggling, and the reason for that is because they don't have a clear concept of what goes on after this world. There are a lot of different belief systems, and there are a lot of people who have been passed down information from different generations that they swear up and down that this is the right way to be doing things. And the truth is that there's so much more to it. And what I mean by that is that there's so much more to life than what people understand. And there's a certain way that we're supposed to go about doing things in order to continue on after this life. And that's where we find ourselves today, struggling in the world. And this isn't a new occurrence either. This is something that's been going on for quite some time now. People have been struggling with the ability to apply the way God asks us to live. They're having difficulty with applying that into their lives. Because of that, they suffer themselves or the world or both. And the tragedy with that is that the people that suffer the most are the ones that are closest to them. I testify to that as well. I went through the darkness. I know what it's like. I went through places of fearfulness, and I was poor in spirit. I was misled by the world once, and those that oppose God, and I went in a very bad direction for a long time. And it wasn't until I awoke spiritually and literally found God that I found repentance and was able to get back on track and living the way that I'm supposed to be, living the way that we're all supposed to be, really. And I've written books on the matter, and I've encountered opposition along the way that unbeknownst to most people, tends to play on the hearts and minds of those who, are close to the things that the faithful do. You can examine my life if you look, and you'll see that there's quite a bit of opposition trying to oppress the things that we're doing. And the reason for that is because when we as a people understand what it is that we're supposed to be doing here and understanding what this message is really about, then we'll start making better decisions. We'll start living, in a better way. And I truly believe that, that it will help not only this nation, but all the nations, come to a better understanding of how to stand upright and walk, and how to live together in harmony and peace. I think we're closer than you might think. I see so many people out there struggling out there with fear, and that's just the thing, is that with God there's no fear in love, right? So if we're with God, then we shouldn't have anything to fear over. But again, this is the reason that we need to have an understanding of how to walk upright and be upright and do what's right by Him. So there's a lot of learning that has to be passed down, and to the ones out there who struggle with their faith and their beliefs in God, trying to convey this type of information is challenging for them. They struggle with their understanding, they struggle with their application, they struggle with their beliefs, they struggle with faith. They don't want to hear, they're stubborn or too proud, or they're too stuck in the world, or they want what they want, or they're caught up in desire, or sin. There's another point, and not having an understanding of what the sacrifice is really about, and the atonement for that, and redemption, and not having that clear concept has caused so many generations to be lost over the millenniums. And I can testify to the things that I've witnessed over life, and seen the poor choices that mankind sometimes makes, and that leads to more pain and suffering, and the types of lessons that we should have been learning by now and applying as a whole. So living in this day and age now, it's 2017, spring. I hope that we've learned by now that there is a way that we're supposed to be living, and being in love is that way, and living in unity with God and having faith in Him. It means that we're not bound to the ways of the world, and we're not condemned to death by sin. It means that we're able to live fruitfully, spiritually, in the Spirit, following God's path and doing things in a holy, upright, righteous way. And until we grasp that complete concept, I think that we're going to struggle as a society, as mankind, and I think we need to grasp the concept of why that's really happening, instead of condemning people to death or throwing people in prison, or persecuting people for the wrong reasons. There's this very specific thing that's going on right now spiritually that is causing mankind to do the sorts of things that we see it's suffering right now. They're trying to make things that are wrong appear as right, and things that are right appear as wrong. So, it talks about that again within the Bible. There's certain things that we're supposed to be mindful of and paying attention to and doing in a very specific way for a very specific reason. So, I do hope that you follow my example, and that you learn from my mistakes in the past, and that you learn how to stand upright sooner than later, and that you start doing the things that God's calling us to do. I guarantee you there's a very important reason for all of this.